you've got your stages and you've got your characteristics. Now what we're going to dig into are the milestones. Now here's what a milestone is. It's really a yes or no response to a question that you ask your customer. And basically, this is a way to define the measuring stick, if you will. So the whole purpose of the success path is to create a measuring stick by which people can see the progress that they're making in buying and selling a home. But I'll warn you from experience, people are going to try to bend their definition or interpretation of where they are on their client success path. And this is where the milestones kind of holds them accountable. So what you want to do is you want to think about the very specific things that help you identify whether somebody should be in stage 1, 2, or perhaps on the end of the stage 4 or 5. But if I were to ask you a question like, how do you know the difference when somebody says they're at stage 3? How do you know for sure if you were to think about their situation, whether they actually were at stage 3? And you might come back to me and you might say, well, I know they were in stage 3 because they have done this, or they've accomplished this, or they've set this up. Those are your milestones. Those are your check marks, if you will. Almost like your list to check off to know, that they're on the stage, or they should be in a different stage. So what I like to do is I like to ask questions that are yes or no, that help you clearly define whether somebody is in that stage. And let me give you an example. So for a few years ago, I hired an Olympia coach to take my hobby of bodybuilding to the next level. And if you were to ask me on the outside, hey Cheryl, on the scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your fitness? Well, I'd probably have given myself an 8, maybe even a 9. Because I lifted weights 3 to 4 times a week and did all kinds of cardio. I ate very healthy. But when I took his assessment, there were some real bottom line yes or no questions. Are you doing this? Yes or no. Are you eating this way? Yes or no. Do you take vitamins? Yes or no. Are you doing this particular thing when you exercise? How many times a week are you lifting? And it was like, oh my goodness. I'm answering these questions and I got to the end and I realized I wasn't an 8 or 9, not compared to where I wanted to be, okay? My path, I was more like a 6 or 7. Here's why that's important. Because that was a measuring stick that he created, and this is a measuring stick that you're creating. So you have to define how to measure the progress, because if you don't, it's gonna be left into the imagination of your customer. And you know who I'm talking about, those buyers that think that they're approved because they did an online internet survey of their finances, but never actually talked to a loan officer or submitted their documents to find out for sure if they've passed that stage of the buying process. So for the milestones, think of a very specific thing that somebody would need to do in order to make progress from one stage to the next, and just list those out. And we'll talk about how to use those in the next lesson when we talk about action items. But right now, all we're doing is looking for identifiers, if you will. How would you know if somebody is at stage 1, 2, or 3? Have they got certain things accomplished? Have they ticked off certain things? Have they completed certain activities? Those are the things that I want you, to think through. And as it relates to you and your experience, you probably experienced this on the front end when you went through the assessment for the Rich Niche Academy, right? We asked you very specifically yes or no questions. And based on that, it helped you identify what stage you're at as it relates to creating your real estate business. So in the worksheet, again, you're going to be able to continue filling out your milestones. And if you've got questions about this, ask in the discussion area, because it's important we nail this down. Because if you're not clear about the measuring stick, well, guess what? Your customer isn't going to be either. And we're not going to be able to track their progress. Here is why that is important. Because inside the Rich Niche Academy, we want to continually remind people of the progress that they're making. It's incredible when you're able to look back, because you've made tons of progress in just building your business. So if you don't have some way to track the progress, you can't remind people of the progress that they're making when they're working with you as a real estate professional. And people stay with you because they continue to make progress. So this is important. Nail down your milestones, do that on the worksheet, and if you've got questions, make sure you ask in the discussion area. And in the next lesson, we're going to talk about the action items. What do you want people to do in each stage? We'll talk about the upcoming lesson, and I will see you soon.